Senate Committee on Veterans Affairs. I'm Jim Nielsen. I have the privilege this year of serving as the chair of this committee. And we appreciate your being here today. I'm going to give some brief opening remarks. I want to introduce the vice chairman, and the other members will come. As you know, legislators are very busy, and we get here when we can get here. But you will have our full and rapt attention, and everybody is taking account of the things that you say, and we assure you that we will translate a lot of your information in the legislative and the budget process this year. If I may, I'd like to introduce the current vice chair, but our chair for the last, I guess, what, 4 years or two? 2 years, last 2 years, Senator Ben Hueso. And Ben did a great job as chair. I'm very honored to succeed him and carry on the progress that he has made on your behalf. And now appreciate very much his assistance to breaking me in as he's serving with as a vice chair. Senator Hueso, would you make a few remarks?
Sure. Thank you very much, Senator Nielsen. And I have to say that I'm very honored to sit here with you. And I'm very eager to work with you. I think you're going to make a fantastic chair of this committee. I think over the years working together with you, this committee, you've showed an enormous amount of support for our veterans in our state. And I think I'm very happy that you're now the chair of this very important committee. You know, my district includes a very significant part of San Diego County, one of the largest military bases in the world. Naval Base San Diego is in my district, and we have a very large population of veterans. And you know, I'm very proud of the fact that in the last 2 years, this committee has been very active with our consultant Wade Teasdale, working very hard to address the needs of our veterans. And it's been a very nice relationship that we have formed with all of you in our community to work on what our state, to see what our state can do to lead the country in providing benefits to our veterans. And I was very proud to work on the ballot initiative that will provide housing for our veterans in our state. Very proud to work on bringing more food and services to our vets. We owe an extraordinary, perhaps an unpayable debt to our military veterans, especially our combat veterans that have served overseas. During my entire time in elected office, from city council to state assembly, and now the state senate, I have made serving our veterans one of my highest priorities in public office. And my legislative record demonstrates that, not only with the bills that I have carried, but those that I have supported. And, you know, among my proudest accomplishments, both in 2013 and 2014, I was able to persuade the Budget Conference Committee to adopt the special augmentations that have temporarily increased funding for our CVSOs in our state. Because of that, within the last month, I was overwhelmed with gratitude to be named Legislator of the Year by the California Association of CVSOs. And it's just a proud moment in my personal life that I can do something for the people that have done the most for our country and our community, and that makes me very proud of my service here. I look forward to hearing what today's hearing teaches us about the evolving needs of our military veterans and what the legislature can do to continue to help CVSOs meet those needs. So thank you, Mr. Chairman, for these brief comments, and I look forward to working with you on making this one of the best years for veterans in our state. Thank you.
Well, Senator Hueso, I'm proud to say that looking at the stats over the years in the 19 counties I've represented, I've had one of the highest numbers of veterans in the area that I represent, and I know that you have because of the counties you've represented. I've looked at those recent statistics. You represent a bunch. To set the context, this is kind of an informational hearing, you'd call it. We'll have some substantive hearings later on issues and on bills that we will entertain. Pro Tem DeLeon has set it out as a mission of the state senate to have oversight to a higher degree than ever before, and I laud him for that effort. Now, keep in mind that oversight doesn't just mean being critical or dealing with disastrous problems. And in the area of veterans, we've had our goodly number of those over the years that I've dealt with these issues since 1978. But it doesn't just mean that. It means constructive and positive things, and that's mostly what we would like to be focusing on here today. And very particularly, your role, the veteran service officers, serving the veterans, and the veterans who are here experiencing that service and helping us understand how we can all do a better job together. We've certainly had challenging times with our budget. I've looked at that for 5 years up front and personal as a vice chairman of the Budget Committee in both the Assembly and now the Senate. But notwithstanding those challenges, we've done okay. In the last 2 budgets, with all of your help, we've been able to grab out a little bit more for you to outreach, to do a better job. And there is a recognition in the legislature that you're important, at least to that degree. In these challenging times, the reality of state government budget is more agencies are weaning off the general fund. But in the area of veterans, you don't have the options, we don't have the options that other agencies do to recover that revenue from fees or tuition or whatever. You don't. And so it's important that we make a priority in the general fund of support for California's veterans. The veteran service officers are trained professionals, and you are the face. You are where the rubber meets the road for our veterans. Biggest problem, and I think I am echoing my colleagues, the biggest problem veterans have is accessing services in government, federal and state. Very often they can't even reach anybody to talk to or communicate with or get through the labyrinthine requirements and forms and all of that. And the veteran service officers are the face of that. Further, you are the advocates that leverage the budget, providing the information to federal government that is required that helps California recover such a good share, or at least what I would say deserved share, of federal various monies and services provided for. And we want to be partners with you. With that said, some of my colleagues have now joined us, and I would like to introduce General Roth. If you have any quick remarks, Senator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll defer but I appreciate it.
Okay, and Senator Janet Nguyen, who has a marvelous life story. Please look it up on the internet. We're not telling our life stories, but she sure has a story, and we're so glad to have her in the Senate. Senator?
Nothing right now, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we're just delighted to have you here, and we want to have, we've got 4 panels today. And we're going to entertain what they are going to say. We are going to be here till 11:30. Now, after the 4 panels, and of course the members anywhere along the way can ask questions and have dialogue with the panelists. At the end of the panels, then that's the opportunity for public comment. And we'd like to have as many of you as wish come up here. The committee is scheduled till 11:30, but I am available until 12 o'clock. If my colleagues have to leave, I can stick around till 12, entertaining additional public comment, and that will all be taken account on the record. With that said, then, let's go ahead and proceed with our first panel. This is a strategic overview, and come on forward, and if you would identify yourself, the panel will be Chris Bingham and Jack Kerwin. And gentlemen, we were delighted, and let her rip. Skipper.
Mr. Chairman, Senators, I'm Lieutenant Colonel Chris Bingham. I am a retired Air Force pilot, Sonoma County Veteran Service Officer, and currently the CA-CVSO President. I and my CVSO counterparts throughout the state are honored to be here today to address you, tell you a little bit about what we do. We are a very passionate and diverse group, and we could probably be here all day with you if you'd let us to tell you what we do. So please feel free to interrupt us because we have a tendency to go on a bit long. Our mission is to ensure that every veteran in the state of California is receiving or has access to benefits they earn through the service to our nation. Unfortunately, the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs does a pretty bad job at helping veterans and educating veterans, and they do a similarly poor job in advocating in the process of VA disability claims. Throughout the state, the CA-CVSO offices are the primary source of advocacy for the vast majority of the veterans in the state of California. We're busy. Our only funding comes from the $2.6 million of state subvention and other ancillary monies from the state, and then the general fund of our local counties. The U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs gives us no funding for what we do. We are very appreciative of the $3 million that we recently got for the last 2 years from the legislature. We've put it to good use in terms of outreach and adding staff. Most of the staff we've added is temporary. The staff that we've added are paying dividends. We are in the process of gathering data to better demonstrate that, but I'm going to give an anecdote from my office. With the added funding, we added one staff member. Her name was Leah Condi, and she came on October of 2013. About 5 months later, when she was done with her training and was actively seeing clients, she started seeing clients. Up to the date that she left last week to marry a Navy submariner, she had filed 370 claims. Of those, 135 had brought in awards totaling $2.3 million of new money coming into our state veterans. Additionally, with the money, actually, so to give you an example of how it's changed in my office, in fiscal year 14, we filed 626 claims in the first half. Same period this year, 825. Prior period in awards, 398. Current period, 499. $14.7 million of new money for all of fiscal year 14. So far, the first 6 months of this fiscal year, $8.6 million. So it's having an effect adding the staff. We've also had a Veterans ID card program, which we implemented in the fall. We've had 480 IDs out, bringing new veterans in. And in our county, it allows veterans to have access to the Sonoma County Transit to get free rides throughout the county, allowing access to veteran health care and allowing access to our office. The VA is in the process of transitioning to a paperless process. As part of this, we're getting unprecedented access to VA systems, computer systems, where we can see in real time what's going on with our veterans' claims. We're actively, not all counties are on board with that yet because of various access reasons, but we're actively working to bring everybody on board with that. With the VA going paperless, they are wanting to stop the flow of paper information to us. And so we are relying on this access system to get information on our clients. Well, right now, there is no push to us from the VA to update us on what's going on with our veterans. And so we are having to go into the systems and manually look. And so it's greatly increasing our administrative workload. We're in a great transition right now with the VA with this paperless process. There's an initiative underway called Digits to Digits, D2D, which is going to be a seamless transition electronically from our computers into the VA systems and from their systems back to ours. But right now, that's not in place. So we are kind of in a limbo world of ad-libbing and trying to get everything done that we need to get done. Ultimately, when this comes into play, it'll be rather a good tool, but it's still going to increase our administrative burden significantly. In the old days, we would do a claim, we would put together all the evidence in a stack of paper, and we'd mail it off to the VA. Now, all those individual pieces of evidence we are going to have to scan and upload into the VA system individually. So our workload is increasing administratively. The fully developed claim process is a new initiative with the VA, and it allows us to essentially go to court, for lack of a better term, with the veteran's claim and all supporting evidence tied up in a pretty little bow. And it greatly speeds up the VA process because they can adjudicate the claim and not have to go out and develop for further evidence. But doing that takes a lot more work from our staff. We have to meet with our clients more often, sometimes 2 or 3 times. We have to help them gather this evidence and put it together. So instead of just filling out paperwork for claims, we are actually much more in the advocacy role. The fully developed claim process is the state of the art. And if you look back in 2010 in my office, VA claims took over 400 days. It's slowly come down to last year, our office, the average claim went through in 150 days. That's a huge difference for our veterans of California. And it makes a huge difference for the VA. We are doing the VA's job for them, and we don't get a dime of funding from them. We have the CalVet strike teams that are helping us reduce the backlog at the VA, and they're helping expedite claims. When the VA gets a claim where they might need some more information to finalize that, they can go to the strike teams, and they can help us and interact with us to get an expeditious, get that evidence expeditiously. AB 935 will be implemented next Veterans Day. This bill adds a veteran's designation to the driver's license. It's going to be a great source of outreach for us, but it's also going to increase our workload. We anticipate a significant increase of workload due to changes with the rules for incarcerated vets, giving them access to veteran services. I'd like to close with a plea to the Senate and Assembly to permanently increase our funding by at least $3 million. If this money is not made permanent, many of the gains we've made will go away. The temporary staff that many of us have hired will likely go, but we've created a demand for service that is not going away. $5.6 million is a great investment when viewed in the light of the over $500 million that we helped get for veterans of the state of California in fiscal year 14. It's a great investment, and it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Okay. President General, and I call you President for your leadership in the association. Thank you for your leadership and for your service. I'm going to have a couple of questions, but let me go to my colleagues first. Any of the colleagues, any questions? Senator Nguyen.
Okay, sorry. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. What can we do? I mean, I know the federal government is quite big. What can we do to try to move them a little bit? Because, I mean, what I'm concerned, it's not so much, I mean, I am concerned with the backlog. But even just knowing what these services are, had we been able to get all of our veterans into these services, we'll never make it through for the next decade. So we have 2 problems. We have the problem of the backlog, and then we have a problem of those who are just leaving the war and finishing have no clue what's out there for them. And most of them, and I'll tell you, my brother served in Iraq. He went right after September 11 hit. He came back homeless. I didn't even know. Okay. We discovered it later. Never knew why he always had a mattress in his truck. You know, always wanted to know why, hey, why don't we go to your place? I said, no, we'll just hang out here. Never knew that until over a year, and I was a sitting supervisor. Okay, that's my personal family. So when you have young men and women who goes to serve our country and not even know what is available to them is wrong. We didn't accomplish what we asked them to give up their life for us. And so my concern is, you know, what you're saying, I appreciate. We know that there's a backlog. How do we solve that? And then we have to then work ourselves backwards. Is how do we solve the other? My other, you know, I know you haven't touched on it, but I'm not sure we will today. But the other thing, the issue I also have is, you know, I saw a report recently or an article that our school infrastructure inside our military bases in California are deteriorating. We can't even help our own men and women's children to be able to go to school. It's like, why don't we just shut those places down and let them go to the other schools? They're better funded. I mean, it's unbelievable what we're doing to them. I mean, they go off and their families stuck here in the military bases, and their children doesn't have a decent classroom to even go to school. So if you can touch, on maybe at least the backlog, if there's anything else we can do on our side with the federal government, or what else we can do. I know you mentioned the $3 million, and then what else can we do to reach out to others?
I would like to see the legislatures of all the states push back to the VA and say, help us do the job. There should be federal funding to help what we do, because the problem is solved primarily with money and outreach. But if we do outreach, we need to have the service points that have the capacity to deal with increased demand. Most of our offices are tapped out right now. We don't have capacity. And so, but we will take any vet that comes to us, and we will gladly go out and do outreach when it's actually detrimental to the ability to do our job. So, if we can push the federal government to add money to do veteran services and not pay lip services to that at the access points, to transition assistance programs, which is what veterans are supposed to go through when they leave the military. Those are getting much better, and it's unfortunate what happened to your brother. But there are programs in place. Whether or not the veterans take advantage of those as when they're leaving is another question. Because many veterans, when they are on the way out, they're doing reviews, and they and their buddies say, hey, I'm not saying anything, because if I say something, they're going to keep me around longer. And
well, what I've learned about government, we're so complex. Whether it's, I've been a councilwoman, been a county supervisor, now I'm at the state level. Every step of the way, when I got council, I go, oh my God, it's a mess. The county, holy smoke. I get to the state, it's only been 2.5 months for me. It's like, no wonder why people hate government. Even though I don't know what the process is. I'm sure there's a process mechanism when you leave. It's just that I would assume it is so complex. A lot of these young men and young women probably just finished high school. So they're not. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of information. You don't know who and where to go, and it's pretty complex. I've dealt with the Orange County Veterans Office. In my district, I have the VA Hospital of Southern California in my district. I've got Seal Beach Naval Base. I've got Los Alamitos Joint Armed Forces Base as well. So I've got a large community of servicemen and women, and so I hear you. I wouldn't use that, though. At least for me, I have to disagree. Is that I think even if they were handed all those documents, I'll tell you, the documents that I received just to become a senator was quite interesting, quite a lot. I think it was like a binder this thick, and I think we had several of them that were mailed to me. So I can't imagine what it would be being a person who just left the war and coming back.